Hello, my name is Timothy Meyer, and I've been a teacher with VIPKID for just over 2 years. In this video, I would like to show you the equipment and props I use for teaching with VIPKID, and this video can be especially helpful for those who are considering living overseas or traveling while teaching with VIPKID. In the past 2 years, I've lived in 7 different countries while teaching for VIPKID. I started in the United States, then later went to Thailand, then Taiwan, then Turkey, Spain, Colombia, and now I'm currently living in Panama. So if you're thinking about taking your show on the road, this might provide some ideas for how you can take the essentials for teaching without having to lug 30 or 40 pounds of props and whatever else. All right, well, let's start. We'll start with the carrying case that I used to carry it all. I picked this up at a Goodwill store for $10. This is a secondhand Dell briefcase, and it's kind of big, but when you consider that you're putting your whole office in there and that with what you have in there, you can literally do your job from anywhere in the world with a good internet connection, it's a pretty good deal. All right, probably the most important piece of equipment for teaching is your laptop. And I've had this laptop for about 5 years. It's an Asus VivoBook X202E. It's an 11.6-inch touchscreen, and it's a really cool laptop. It's very thin. It's about the size of a MacBook Air, weighs about 3 pounds, not including the adapter. But this is really good for traveling lightweight and teaching lightweight. When I first started teaching with VIPKID, that's the laptop I was using. And I taught with it for probably 9 or 10 months in the US, in Thailand, and in Taiwan, and actually later for a month in Turkey. And it works really, really good. I use the built-in webcam, and the touchscreen is nice. So if your student is using an iPad, you can model how to circle uh, right on the screen there. So that's really nice. Probably the only downside is the screen size. Now for seeing the student and the PowerPoint lesson and everything, it's fine. But to read the teacher directions at the bottom of the PPT, it can be kind of small. So that's probably the only downside. But if you're gonna live overseas, or especially just go traveling for 4 or 5 or 6 months and you want to teach while you're on the road, this is a great tool. I highly recommend it. And I'm sure there are newer versions now, but the Asus VivoBook series I think are very good, high quality computers, and they're kind of outdated now, but you might still be able to find one for a couple $100s. I think I paid $360 for that new about 5 years ago, and it's still working very well. Okay, when I teach, I like to have my camera at eye level, and I just use the built-in camera on the laptops. But in order to raise it a bit, you can buy a wire shelf, which is what I have here. I bought this at a local store, and it raises the laptop about 6 inches or so and gives me lots of storage space underneath, which is what I like. But for traveling, you can't really carry a wire shelf with you easily. So I found this. I bought this on eBay, and it's just a little laptop rack, or I forget what they officially call it, but it just raises the top of your laptop, and you can adjust these arms. Maybe these can't because I tried to glue them, but anyway, you can adjust the angle at which your laptop sets, but this thing weighs next to nothing. It's just aluminum rods and plastic. So this will take up virtually no space. It collapses like this, and this is a great way to get your laptop elevated a little bit, which also makes it easier to type on your keyboard. So that's definitely a really cool tool to use. Obviously, if you're teaching with VIPKID, you need a headset. And for more than a year, I used a Logitech H390 headset, which was really good. It worked very well. It has inline controls to control the volume up and down, and also to mute I think the headphones part of it. What it should have had and didn't was the option to also mute the mic, because what happens if you've been teaching with VIPKID, you know this, after the lesson is over, you turn off the camera and then you're maybe typing up feedback. they hear click, 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 and your student says, hi teacher, hi teacher, hi teacher. Or maybe even before the lesson starts, when you come into the classroom, they hear you. And so they start hollering at you before, a minute or two before class is supposed to start. So that was the only kind of bad thing about the Logitech H390, but otherwise it was a really good headset. What I bought last summer when I was in the States is an MPOW, M-P-O-W headset on Amazon. Normally it costs around $22. I got it on sale for maybe $18. That's what I'm using now. It has obviously a mic and really high quality sound. It also has inline controls, but the advantage is that, and I hope my mic isn't muted right now, but the advantage is it actually has 4 controls. It has your volume up, volume down. You can mute the mic, but you can also mute your headphones. So maybe you've had the experience where there's a lot of echo coming back at you, and maybe you're singing a song with the kid, and 2 seconds after you sing the song, it comes right back at you. So sometimes I just like to mute that just, during a song, so I can sing without throwing myself off key or off tune or whatever. So it's really nice to have those 4 controls where you can mute your mic so the student can't hear you. You can mute the headset so you can't hear the student or you can't hear yourself. And that would be fairly rare that you would actually want to use that because you need to be able to hear the student. And then it also has the volume controls up and down. So I highly recommend that. And another advantage with this is you can use it, it's a USB headset. So it plugs into a USB jack, but you can also disconnect this part and just use it as a regular headphone jack on your phone or whatever. Then you lose the inline controls, but it has some versatility there, which is really good. The next piece of equipment you probably will need is a mouse. And again, for the first year, I used a wired Logitech, I don't know, M100, maybe 110 mouse, something like that. And it worked great. So that's cheap. You can pick that up at Walmart, I would think, for maybe under 10 bucks. It was really good. But last summer, I also picked up this wireless Logitech M510 mouse, and I really like it. It has some extra controls that you can program here. So for example, if you want to expand your page or condense it, there's a better word for that, but I'm not thinking of it right now. And also the mouse here, you can also program that to do certain functions. Plus you have your regular clicking right and left mouse pad. So that's really nice. And that might run around $20, something like that. It uses 2 AA batteries, but you can also get by just using 1, I have heard. And I think the batteries are supposed to last 6 months or something like that. So it's, you don't have to charge it every night or anything like that. So that is very useful. The next piece of equipment I have, and this is kind of optional, if you have a laptop with the riser, the laptop stand, you can just use that keyboard. But I saw this last summer and, I bought it. Of course it's orange, so how could I resist? But this is also a Logitech, and I don't know the model number right now, but a Bluetooth keyboard actually. So it doesn't take up any USB ports. It's just a Bluetooth keyboard, and it works really nice. The keys are actually round and slightly indented, but it's very comfortable to type on, and it also has some very convenient volume controls. Let's see, up here, there's some volume controls. So I usually adjust the volume with that instead of with my inline control on the headset. So that's very useful, and that, I don't know, that might run you $20, $25, something like that. It is extra weight, it does take up extra space, so if you want to really travel light, you can just use, obviously, the keyboard on your laptop, and that'll save you some weight. Now, some of the props that I use for teaching, and of course you can use this whether you're on the road or in your home in the States or whatever, some of the props I use for my reward system, I've used various reward systems, but I found this one is simple. I can take it with me. It applies to students of nearly any age. If they know their numbers, it helps. But and that is, I just have a tic-tac-toe game with Uno cards. So I have numbers 1 through 9. It's very easy to introduce to students, and then they can, pick a number. Usually at the beginning of class, I'll let them pick one, and then every 5 minutes or so, when I give them a star, I'll let them pick another number, and we just turn the cards over. And by the end of class, they usually have been able to pick 6 numbers, and usually they've been able to get 3 in a row. Now, for very young students who maybe don't know their numbers yet, I do have another set of Uno cards, so I can just say, okay, let's pick a number. What is, and randomly pick one, and then they can practice saying their numbers, and then I'll turn that number over on the tic-tac-toe board, and we'll go from there. So that's a very simple reward system that I found works with students at pretty much any level. And I don't know if my repeat students get bored with it, but of course I change around the numbers every now and then. So for repeat students, they might memorize the numbers over time. And then I just, on a little sticky note, I just write a grid and write what the numbers are. So when they guess the numbers, I can see where they are and then turn them over. So that's a very simple and very effective reward system. Also, what I do for unit assessments, I put together a unit assessment form that looks like this. And basically, I just have a place to write the student's name. And then I have 25 boxes here. And for every question in the unit assessment, the student will get either a 0, a 1, or a 2. So I just fill that out as we do the assessment, 0, 1, or 2. And then after the class, when I leave the feedback, I'll just enter those numbers and then the feedback at the end of the unit assessment. That I just made on Microsoft Word, and it works very well. It's simple. You can print that obviously on both sides so that when you go traveling, you can just take maybe half a dozen sheets with you, and that should be enough for unit assessments for a long time, depending obviously on how many classes you're teaching every week. Okay, so those are some of the props I use to do and there's a blank unit assessment form, just so you can see what that looks like. Very easy to make in Microsoft Word. Just make a table, and pretty easy to do. Okay, some of the actual props I use for engagement with the students. This is probably, well, I don't know, one of my favorite ones. This is my friend Panda. I bought him when I was in Taiwan, and he works very well with Chinese students, obviously, because pandas come from China. So if I need to practice a dialogue with Panda, I can say, "Hi, Panda, what's your name?" "My name is Panda. What's your name?" And just do a dialogue like that, and then we can include the student in the dialogue, and I can even have Panda say, ask them, "What is your name? What is your name?" And then sometimes it's easier for them to interact with a puppet or a stuffed animal than with a scary American. So that's very useful for practicing dialogues and just for kind of breaking the ice and helping the student to feel more comfortable. And I believe that when the student feels comfortable, then they're able to learn better. They're able to absorb more. When they know they're allowed to make mistakes, they can relax and just have fun. And I love to have fun in my classroom. And I like to keep the mood pretty light, because again, if the student's having fun, they'll relax, they can absorb more, they can speak more freely without fear. So I smile a lot, I use humor. Obviously, depending on the level, I might have to adapt it to that specific student at that specific age. One tool that has worked very well is these little hands I bought on Amazon.com. Now, we know when teaching VIPKID students, you want to give them high fives when they do a good job. But what if your high five was one of these little things, and you gave them 2 high fives, and then later you gave them 3 or 4 high fives, and they're looking at you like, what is that? And again, it's just a way to break the ice. I bought these way back when I started teaching for VIPKID, and it's one of the best investments I've made. I think you can buy them on eBay for maybe $7 for a set of 5. And it's just a way to kind of keep new students kind of on their back foot, like, "Oh, what's that?" And to introduce some humor and just keep things light. So I highly recommend those. Also, because Meg and Mike show up a lot in our lessons, if I need to model Mike, wear this blue hat like Mike does, and if I need to model Meg, then I have this. Now, it could be Meg, it could be Anna, it could be Lisa, it could be whoever, it doesn't matter. But this is if I need to be a girl for the dialogue, then this is what I wear. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, this headband has a way of falling down many times. So maybe I'm doing the, level 2, unit 1 trial class, and we're practicing. I'm introducing Meg, and Meg says, "My name is Meg. What's your name?" And right about then, this thing falls down. That often is a great icebreaker for students, especially if they're 4 or 5 years old. They love it. And it happens more than once that it'll fall down. But that just lightens the mood, and then they can practice and hopefully be able to speak a bit more freely. So these two props for Mike and Meg are very useful, and I think I picked this up at Goodwill new for like $1. And this was either Goodwill or Salvation Army for, I don't know, maybe a couple bucks. But anyway, scrounge your local secondhand stores or Hobby Lobby or whatever. Hobby Lobby is a great resource. And let's see, what did I get there? Okay, this was this right here, which is a magnetic whiteboard, which I use. And actually I have another whiteboard sheet that I have the grid system on. But this magnetic whiteboard I bought at Hobby Lobby, you can buy them for like $10, I think, or use a 40% off coupon and get it for $6. But anyway, this is a bit thick. It's a bit bulky to carry with me, but it's worth it to me, and I like having the I guess the thickness or the heft or whatever. But what you could do is you could even just get one of these peel off magnetic whiteboard things, and then just clip it to a clipboard like this if you wanted to really save some space and weight. I'm not quite at that level at this point. Okay, another teaching resource I have are flashcards, and these I also picked up at Hobby Lobby. I don't know how much they were, maybe $10 for, no, maybe less, maybe $4 or $5 for a set. There's actually 2 complete sets. I just took one with me, and for the most part, I only use A, B, C, and D. For example, when I'm teaching the level 2 unit 1 trial class, and other times when it's useful to have an apple or maybe a duck or whatever. But these are very useful to take with you when you hit the road. Also, I bought these finger puppets on eBay, and they came from China. It might have been $3 for a set of 10, I think, but they're pretty useful. You never know when you're going to have to introduce a dog or a cow or a duck or a panda. And this panda is very useful, especially with level 2 unit 1 trial classes, because I've already introduced the panda. But when we talk about big and small, big A, small a, I can say big, small, big panda, small panda, and just put that association in their mind before introducing the big A and small a. So that's another good investment, a couple bucks on eBay for some finger puppets. And then these I picked up actually when I was in Japan, I think, at a cool store called Daiso. And they have them in Taiwan, where I lived for about 1.5 years. They have them in Japan. It's a Japanese company. But these are just some foam shapes, and very handy if you're teaching triangle or rectangle, circle, square, and who knows, but they're very lightweight. You probably can't compress them too much, but they travel well. So that is that. Maybe just one other resource that I have purchased, which also works pretty well, and that is these LED clip-on lights. And I won't blind you for too long with them, but this just clips on to, well, your book, or in this case, a laptop, and just provides a little bit of extra lighting. It is USB, so I have it plugged into one of my USB ports, but it also has a built-in battery. So if your electricity goes out, you still have light. And in fact, that happened to me today as I was teaching. In fact, today I taught my 4,500 class, and the lights went out today, so that provided some lighting for a couple minutes until the lights came back on. And of course, my laptop battery will also provide power for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 hours. So I can teach for a while, even if the electricity goes off. Of course, the problem is the internet, which is why you always want a backup. Now, the internet here is really, really good, but when the power went out today, so did the internet. So what I did here in Panama, I bought a local SIM with a data plan. It costs about 20 bucks a month. It is 20 bucks a month plus tax. And that gives me something like 7.5 gigabytes of data. I don't know if I can use all of that for teaching, but maybe 5 of it is for teaching and there's something else for Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever. But in any event, so I have a 4G connection. There's a tower right near here. So when the power went off today, I can just turn on my hotspot, my Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone. My phone becomes my modem, my internet connection, and then on my laptop, I just connect to this hotspot, and a minute later, I was teaching again. So it's good to have a backup. And actually, when I lived in Taiwan, I used my phone as my internet connection. It was faster and more reliable than the Wi-Fi in the building where I was living. So I just used that to teach all the time, and it worked great. When I traveled in Turkey for a month and taught for 1 month from an Airbnb rental place, I bought a local SIM, bought 10 gigabytes of data for like $13, and could teach about 130 classes from that. And again, it was blazing fast. It was like, I don't know, 50 megabytes download speed and 25 upload, something like that. So much faster than the Wi-Fi in that house. So if you're living, traveling overseas, and you can use your phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot, definitely good as a backup or even just as your primary internet connection. It works fine with that also. And when the power goes out, the cell phone towers apparently have a backup power supply, so you don't lose your cell phone signal. So that is really, really good and really important. Okay, I think that is pretty much it. So if you plan to take your teaching on the road, I hope you're able to get some good ideas from the things I showed you. You don't have to take with you a ton of equipment. Now, I have purchased a larger laptop. This is a 15.6-inch Acer Aspire E15. The model number is E5-575-33BM. And I bought it on Amazon for about $350. And for what it is, it's a really good value. It has a high definition webcam, which is what I'm using now. It has a 1080 resolution screen. It has backlit keys, which is pretty cool. And the battery, they say, lasts 12 hours. I'd be happy to get half of that out of it. But anyway, if your power does go off for an hour or two, you should be okay with the battery here. What I did after buying this is I popped off the bottom plate and I doubled the RAM. It came with 4 gigabytes of RAM, so I added 4 more. That's very easy to do. You can watch videos on YouTube how to do that. And I also added an E.2 solid state drive. And with the RAM and the drive, I paid maybe an extra 100, 120 bucks. But this comes with a 1 terabyte regular drive, but adding an extra, I think it was around 200 gigabyte or 256, maybe 200 gig solid state drive means that you can put like your important software programs that you want to start more rapidly on that. And then you can put your pictures and the things that you won't be accessing as much on your regular 1 terabyte hard drive. So this gives you some versatility. So for basically $450 or so, you can get a really loaded laptop. And I like the bigger screen too, because it's easier to read the teacher directions for one thing. And sometimes it's just nice to have the bigger screen. Unfortunately, it weighs 5 pounds or so and takes up probably twice the space that the Asus does. So and you kind of got to weigh the pros and cons there. But for me, now I'm in Panama and I plan to stay here for a while, so it's nice to have the bigger screen. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Maybe you've been teaching for a while with VIPKID and you're thinking about either taking a vacation and working on your vacation, or even better, just traveling for 6 months and living, abroad and teaching while you travel, which is a very feasible thing to do, especially with Airbnb. You can just, rent a place for a week or 2 weeks or a month. Be sure you have good internet and do some teaching and, finance your vacation. It's a really good idea. Or maybe you're not teaching yet, but you're thinking about teaching with VIPKID, or maybe you're a brand new teacher and you just need some hints and ideas of what resources to use. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're considering teaching with VIPKID, please click the link below in the description to find out more about VIPKID. And if you like this, please click like. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. Well, that's it for now. I hope you have a wonderful day and happy teaching. Goodbye.